If you're wondering what I'm doing, this is us traveling to an alternate universe where you all actually listen to the shit I'm putting out there, and oh, wow, I can't do that, and taking my advice, and not just listening to it, but taking the advice. What's going on, everybody? It's your favorite dating coach, Elliot Scott, and the reason I am holding the camera right now is because I am going to transition over to a different format. Let me know if you like it, because on this topic, as you can see, we're going to talk about a man's interest levels in you, and obviously there are a lot, so I want to go a little more in depth with that. But if you like this format, leave a comment below whether you do or not. I have a new guide out. Well, it's not a new guide, it's updated. It's my attraction guide. I changed the name, the cover. So if you already have it, just go back to the email and re-download it. But if you're interested, it's updated. It's 200 page long. It's in depth. And it talks about hooking men long term. Consistency. Seeing you as long term, thinking about you nonstop, initiating, investing, all that is down in the link below. But without further ado, let me go over to the computer and show you this format. Again, let me know if you like it, and let's go. Hey ladies, now let's jump right into this, okay? Because this might be a long video. Men in the 51%, what our interest levels look like along the way. I know you're not interested in the 51. You want to see if you actually have a fighting chance. So we'll get to that. We're going to start from obviously 100 all the way down to the 51. And I'm going to touch on important things that I think are related to all that, okay? So a couple things first. This is based on his interest level, not your attractiveness level. Now, of course, your attractiveness is going to be a big indicator on how interested he is in you, especially in the beginning if you guys have not been talking a lot. But when I say, you're an 8, or his feelings for you are an 8, it means they are his interest in you is an 8. Not only that, I want you to understand, and I preach this so much to my clients, attraction is a momentum-based concept. A guy just doesn't wake up, ladies, out of nowhere and be like, man, I really like Almira. She's so hot. She's awesome. What was I thinking treating her like shit the last 2 months? No, if he does come back around, it's for assets. But in terms of like attraction, it's a facilitator. The more you have, the more you can do. So that's why I preach so much and I teach so much. All my theories and everything is around attraction and maximizing attraction, because the more you have, again, the more you can get. You can make a guy do anything if he's in love with you. But understand, it is a momentum-based thing. So once it gets so low, it's very hard to build back up, okay? Next, you will see a mixture of signals from each category. So even though he might be a 7, you might see something from a 6 or 5 in his interest level. You know, he might be doing a lot of good things, but he might leave you on red. I tell women, just look at the majority of things and follow your gut. Your gut's usually right. Like, you gotta be honest with yourself. If you feel like his interest level is falling off and it was a 7 and now it's like a low 6 or a 5, tell yourself that, hey, it is what it is. Okay, just follow your gut. Your gut's usually not wrong. And lastly, know that if there's any type of hot and cold, especially if the hot and cold is consistent, it probably means there's a low interest level. Okay, like very low, like 6s. So before getting into that, I want to talk about, well, what is the main driver? Like, a guy's interested. Okay, well, why is he interested? Like, what is the big umbrella that everything kind of sits under? The bigger picture, something way bigger than you, way bigger than me, way bigger than the interactions we have, and stuff like that. And I think women take this a little too literally. They'll be like, reproduction, I don't want kids, I'm 50. It doesn't matter, or he already has kids. He says he doesn't want kids. It doesn't matter what this is what I'm trying to get at when I say umbrella. It doesn't matter what he says. He's an idiot. He doesn't know what he wants. He knows maybe 5 or 10% of what he wants, and maybe the common sense stuff. Oh, I like a woman in shape. I like boobs. Every guy likes, whatever, that, okay. But the brain is the ancestral brain, or I call it the chimp brain, lizard brain. It has perfected the goal of continuing our species, okay? And it does that through two things: trying to keep you alive and trying to reproduce. And it has a way of doing so. So, for example, with survival, the goal of the organism is to survive long enough by gaining advantages, assets, and an abundance of resources, and to seek comfort in order to successfully find a mate and create offspring. Now, when I say those things, here's the beautiful thing behind it. When I say things like seeking comfort, well, what does that mean? The organism doesn't like stress. We are very risk avoidant. So, what are some things modern day that contribute to that, or that we use to limit this stress? Well, guys like validation, guys like sex, guys like attention, guys like indicators of interest, guys like women who give them a lot, like stuff like that. If I'm like really stressed, or I'm like really insecure, I'm seeking a woman's validation. So that's why you see guys seek a woman's validation. That's why you see guys love bomb girls. It's a tactic to get validation and to compete with higher value men, because I'm literally selling you on the image of the ideal guy. And hey, don't worry, you don't have to be alone. Stuff like that. And when it comes to guys like not taking you out instead of wanting you to come over, or not investing in you, or doing minimal efforts. That goes back to what I say here: the saving or the abundance of resources. He's saving resources, time, energy, effort, money. He's saving all these things because the brain is telling him it doesn't care about morals. We care about morals, but the brain does not care about morals, or the evolutionary brain. It cares about survival. It'll do, like, there is a reward system behind lying. And I'm not saying all men or women and humans are liars, but I don't even know how to explain, because we justify everything. Little white lies we say and stuff like that. But just know that, guys, by gaining advantages, another advantage is like I said, saving on resources, getting you hooked, maybe I'm not sure about you, but I don't want to let you go, and then I convince you to be friends with benefits, which gives you hope for a relationship in the future with me. That's an advantage. That's an advantage I get, because it goes to the next thing, which is reproduction. Well, I can't reproduce unless I'm fucking you. So he's going to do two things. He's going to try to get himself in a position where he is talking to women and reproducing with women, whether that's one or many. I mean, a variety is the spice of life for some. But it's also the attractiveness, the youthfulness, the fertility, the curves, the health, the symmetry, the physical looks, just overall that kind of stuff that the brain is very attracted to. Everyone knows that guys are really interested into boobs. Okay, well, why? It's a childbearing cue. Hips. Why? It's a childbearing cue. Curves, symmetry, youth. They're all childbearing cues that the brain looks at and is like, holy shit, I really like that. And these are the drivers. And this is important for me to tell you all this because of what we're going to be talking about next. So, what kills the interest levels? It's these type of things. It's the things that go against the two not obligations, but the two goals of the organism. So liabilities and drama. Men don't like liabilities and drama. Liabilities lower my chance of survival, and drama, it usually takes more resources to handle. Maybe you're not attractive enough in his eyes. Pretty self-explanatory. Long distance. I'm not saying it can't work, but the ancestral brain does not know anything about long distance. Logically, we can conceptualize it, but investing in something without getting the resources right then and there is just kind of blasphemy for the ancestral brain. Age gaps. Again, he can be very sexually attracted to you, but if we're talking about commitment, and I'm not saying these guys can't commit. I know I made a video about it a little bit ago with a client, but again, in terms of commitment, he can commit to a 40-year-old, okay, but if he's 30, Why commit to a 40-year-old when I commit to a 25? Women don't like when I say that, but it is the truth. Not being the best option he thinks he can get. So the reason this is important is it goes back to abundance, resources, advantages. Why would I settle for less? Why would you settle for less? From an evolutionary perspective, it just doesn't make sense. High demand on resources, so a high maintenance woman. A liability usually becomes a liability when the cost of the asset is usually higher than what it should be, and or it's not worth the cost. So high maintenance women. Difficult to retrieve assets. So maybe you're a woman who's like plays hard to get, pulls away, plays some bullshit, some games, the long distance, that stuff. And then, of course, a lack of chemistry and connection. At the end of the day, no matter how hot you are, a guy will not commit to you if you do not, at least long term, unless he's just superficial and shallow. He will not commit to you unless you're a badass chick with a badass personality. So, what happens when a guy's interest level starts to drop, but he's unsure or his attraction doesn't grow? It kind of goes through stages, and I'm sure you have witnessed this yourself. But there's two ways to go about it. For one, if you're going through all the drama and bullshit and he's just like, I'm done, I'm not dealing with this anymore, he'll cut himself off. Why? Because the assets are not worth the cost, the liabilities. Just too much bullshit between you guys. But if it's not that, let's say you're talking to a guy who doesn't want a relationship or doesn't like you enough but still wants to keep you around. A lot of you experience that. Here's usually how it runs down. He still wants you around because he wants the assets. A lot of the time, men don't want to cut you off. It goes back to resources. It goes back to advantages. Just because I don't want a relationship with you doesn't mean I don't like you. Just because I don't want a relationship with you doesn't mean I don't want to keep you around. There's still assets to obtain. And it doesn't always have to be sexual. It could be something like validation. It could be, hey, you're fun, you're cool, you're awesome. I'm just not sure I'm ready for a relationship or sure about you. Which sounds very unfair, but humans do it all the time subconsciously. And then from that, he will invest the assets accordingly. He will invest them accordingly, meaning, or I guess he will invest into the assets accordingly. And what that means is, like, he will invest in them because he wants them. It's just the consistency. How long will he do it? How deep will he do it? Will he eventually take it for granted? Will he treat? Because usually what happens is a guy will, in the beginning, if he doesn't want a relationship, but you stick around, let's see what happens type of thing. He's going to invest in you pretty well, and the reason for it is he knows you're getting the raw end of the deal. It's all negotiation. It's all transaction in the beginning. When there's no feelings involved or you're not in a relationship, it's a lot of transaction. And what I mean by that is you're getting the raw end of the deal. He knows that. He has to sweeten the pot, sweeten the bride. So you're either going to get very hopeful by the stuff he does, or he's going to treat you like a girlfriend and not really worry about the pressure because he told you, hey, I'm not really looking for anything, or I don't know what I want. Let's see what happens. So I guess it's temporary friends with benefits, but he's going to treat you well because if he doesn't, he knows, well, she can just leave and get, because I can't give her what she wants, so why is she sticking around? Oh, it's because she likes me. But logically, what I'm saying? Like, you could just leave and talk to another guy, so he's going to treat you decently. Now, with that being said, this investment does come at a cost. There's going to be a time where he believes that the assets are not worth the liabilities because the context starts to become apparent. Meaning, just like I previously said, well, temporary friends with benefits. Well, okay, but now we're talking, we're texting, we're consistent. You say you're not talking to anyone else. We're hooking up. We've been doing this for months. Like, he should assume, and you should assume accordingly, that things are going well. So is it moving towards a relationship, especially if he says, well, let's see what happens. And then lastly, if the attraction doesn't grow or it doesn't transition to a relationship, it always falls apart. Unless you both are just like, hey, yeah, I'm completely fine with friends and benefits. I am not looking for anything more than that. But if that's not the case and you are hopeful for a relationship, and again, the attraction doesn't grow, it eventually just falls off. Actually happens all the time. So here are my core 5 things. Women are like, well, shit, well, what do I do then? What's the best way to get a guy attracted to me? Short term, it's increasing your looks. But overall, like to get him obsessed with you, these are the core 5 things I teach. I talk about this in my guide. Actually, I go very in depth with all this kind of stuff. But everything I teach is around these 5 things because it's factual. It's what gets me the most results, or gets my clients the most results. I try to just turn them into these things. You would need to be very attractive. That's Mother Nature. Don't hate on me. He needs to believe you're the best option he can get. That's just logic. He needs to believe that his life is better with you in it than without. Again, survival, advantages, comfort. We seek comfort as a species. This is very relieving. Easy to attain assets and limited liabilities. Again, saving on resources. And lastly, you need to make him want to grow and be a better person. You guys are a team now. It is a very boring and bland relationship when 2 people are together and they're just kind of like interacting. Like there's no growth, there's no experience, there's no leveling up. You got to level up as a couple. These 5 things, ladies, the more you have, the more likely you're going to get a guy to commit. Trust me, happens every single time. Now, someone will come to me and say, no, I have these 5 things and he still doesn't commit. No. There's reasons why. Number 1, you're probably not as attractive as you think you are. I'm not saying you're ugly, but if he doesn't find you as oh my God, stunning. Not that you have to be a model. Women think that. That's not true. He just has to be very attractive to you. But where it fails is 2 things. Number 1 is you're not the best option he believes he can get, or he can be emotionally unavailable guy. But we're talking about emotionally available men. You're not the best option he can get, and secondly, you're also competing against women who have these 5 things, or believe they have these 5 things, or a number of these things, and you're competing against it. So that's why some guys take a little while to commit, especially when he's emotionally available and does like you. So logically, I just kind of said all this. What this means is a man who has a lower interest level is going to invest less than you due to the fact that it goes against our evolutionary drive for survival, the advantages we gather, and the reproduction success. So jumping into the 80, or I guess the levels, the interest levels. The first one I want to talk about is 80 to 100. 100 is much different than 80, but I think at 80, the reason I'm capping it there, I guess this is the first gap, is once you hit 80s, it's yours to lose. It's yours. These are emotionally available men, by the way, we're talking about. It's yours to lose. Just don't F it up. Get my guide, don't F it up. If the man is emotionally available, he is looking to probably commit to you, especially if he has an 8+ interest level and you guys are consistent, hooking up, it goes back to my core 5. You have a lot of these things, and he's spending a lot of his time and energy and effort on you, his resources. He's going to commit. He's heavily investing in resources to the point where he feels he is not just investing in you, but he's investing in a future, a different lifestyle. So, for example, I say really getting to know your friends and family and builds a connection with them. Another thing that I used to do with my ex, I remember every time I would go over her, I could just say that he starts to make decisions based on, you, and he interacts, or not interacts with you, but he just makes decisions with you in mind. Okay, it's not just him anymore. It's more of a we lifestyle, an us, not you and I. Another thing is there is progress, and the progress creates a frame that should be a relationship. There is a there is a big difference between a guy who is dating a girl linearly, I can't say that, more linear, okay? Date 1, date 2, date 3, date 4, date 5, then exponentially, where you just see it kind of go like this. Much different. Again, goes back to what I said. He starts to create a lifestyle around you. You see a heavy investment, and it starts to feel like a relationship, not just date 10. You're going to find it that there's really no gaps in miscommunication. If there is, he's going to give a very good reason and usually fix it, because we are risk avoidant. He is not going to try to avoid, or he's not going to he's not going to play games, basically, because that's a risk of losing you. And lastly, this isn't going to make sense, but it's true. I don't know how to explain this, but chasing, trying to constantly take you out, and dates you for like let's say he's chasing you for the last 6 months, and you were giving him a chance, doesn't mean a high interest level, because you don't know the incentive. You don't know his real motive. Not only that, a high value man who's looking for a relationship will not chase you for 6 months, 3 months. Well, he will not chase you. He won't chase you. If he really wants a relationship, it's not worth his time as resources. So I would say it's more asset driven if a guy starts doing that. Now, interest level in the 70s. This is a man who likes you but is unsure of the relationship. If he likes you, he's seeing if you're going to be girlfriend material. He's also going to invest resources into you, but not with the depth, like I said previously, about like creating this future with you in terms of like getting to know your friends and family. He's just taking you out. He's just doing simple things, which isn't bad. This is not bad, ladies. 7's good. He could commit, but he doesn't do it. He doesn't do it right away. This means that the progression is more linear than exponential. Like I said, this is the guy who goes from date 1, date 2, date 3, date 4, and is playing more accordingly. He's taking it one step at a time. And then, of course, lastly, you have good communication. It's not perfect, but it's good. Now, I just want to throw this in here. Before it gets any lower, if you're afraid that, because again, it's so much harder to get a level of interest up than it is to prevent it. If you feel like you're in the 7s with a guy right now, get my guide. Okay, hook him. Get him to think about you nonstop. It is organized. It is going to go really in depth. It's 200 pages long, and it is going to show you how to attract men long term. Because once you get into the 6s, ladies, trust me, you're going to learn the hard way. I know there's people looking at this like, I'm not going to get that. We're fine. Prevention is key. Once you get into the 6s, it's almost impossible to get out. It's really hard, and you're going to see why. So just stop, click the link below, and get the guide. If you have a decent thing going with the guy, or if you're in the high 6s, low 7s, and you want to transition back into the high 7s and 8s and stuff like that, get the guide. The link is down below. Okay, now we're going into the 60s. His interest level, this is hard to come back from. He's probably around for the assets. In terms of a relationship, he is not thinking any way whatsoever of having a relationship with you. He's just enjoying the assets. Doesn't mean he's using you. I know it sounds like that. It's just, I hate when women say that. It's like, no, I just don't like you enough. I mean, doesn't mean I don't want to hang out. Of course, I still want to get laid and mess around and hang out with you. But in terms of a relationship, I'm not sure. Yes, he can communicate it. I'm just letting you know. There is going to be a very low investment. There's going to be no depth. If he does, it's uncommon, or it's to invest into getting the assets. Because logically, again, when attraction is this low, it becomes a transaction. It's like, yes, I know I need to do X, Y, Z to get what I want. This guy is going to leave you on red. This guy doesn't want a relationship with you. And again, the communication is below average. It's going to be inconsistent. There's going to be gaps. There's going to be pulling away. There's going to be some kind of more of a, I'll get back to her when I can, type of thing. Now, next is going to be interest level in the 50s. This is everything I said, just emphasized a little more. Definitely using you for the assets. He's inconsistent. He's going to leave you on red. Definitely doesn't want a relationship with you, probably never will want a relationship with you, doesn't try to fix or put effort into growing what you guys have. If he does, it's because he knows logically, okay, I need to invest in her to get the assets. Maybe you correct him, maybe you say, hey, I don't like when you do that. He knows he needs to straighten up, but it falls off again. This is a guy usually a lot of you give too many chances to. And lastly, he's usually hot and cold because he has the mindset of I'll come around when I want something, pull away when I don't mentality. So around the 50s, I even say maybe low 60s, why do I tell women to stop trying to fix it? It's just not even worth it anymore. Like I said, prevention is key. When I asked you about, or I told you guys to get the guide, prevention is key. Attraction is very momentum based. It's better to prevent it instead of trying to fix something so low. It's just too much effort. It's just too much. The power dynamic is so in his favor. He would be stupid to commit or try to fix it instead of taking advantage of it. I know that sounds horrible in a moral sense, but it is the truth from an evolutionary sense. It's like, hey, if I don't like you, I don't like you. But if you're going to make it easier for me to get the assets, I'll take them, man. And it gets to the point where you're investing so much to try to fix it that he will take advantage of it. It's just not worth it, no matter how much you like the guys, ladies. So going over this real fast. What does it mean when a guy is hot and cold? This is a man trying to maximize his advantage while lacking the feelings and emotions on the matter of the situationship you guys have. He comes around when he wants something, may even invest and butter you up because, again, you're getting the raw end of the deal. But at the end of the day, he is going to reset the context by letting you know he either doesn't want a relationship or by pulling away to let you know, okay, things haven't changed. Because he knows by investing in you, or some women end up getting hope, oh, he changed, or why the sudden change all of a sudden. They'll ask questions like that when it's just for the assets. So what can you all do about all this? First off, if your attraction is if his interest level is in the 80s, it's yours to lose. It's yours to lose. Just don't F it up. The game is played between 79 and 65 attraction level. This is why I suggest you get the guide for more information. It's very specific. I go over context, framing, tribes, deep desires, what men want, and stuff like that. But the game is played in the 79 to 65 range. And if you're in that range, the two things I would focus on most is the framing. Like if you know context and framing, and I say this with the 65 and below, or around the 65 too. Increasing your looks. Men are just visual, sexual, physical by nature, and if you don't have enough context and depth for commitment or to get this guy to see you long term, again, because maybe you've only been on a handful of dates, I would increase improving your looks. I would start to try to get more consistency that equals to dates and try to win him over on dates. And if you're in the 50s and below, ladies, I don't even know what to tell you. Like, that's pretty damn low. I don't mean that in a mean way. It's not even worth it. I'd move on. I'd just move on. But at the end of the day, ladies, make sure to get this, and it does come down to this. It comes down to these 5 things. Now, there's more techniques under all these things. Again, in my guide, I teach very important techniques for each and every one of these things that will increase your chances. For example, tribe will help with a lot of these things right here and stuff like that. But if you can't get these 5 things, he's not going to commit. He's just going to keep you around as a friends with benefits. You're going to be very hopeful, but get the raw end of the deal. So with that being said, ladies, let me know if you like this format. I know I felt like I was a little all over the place. I have this, actually I could have just took this off. I had this headset on. It kind of makes it hard for me to hear what I'm saying. But I love you all. Take care and peace.